Hello, welcome back for another update for NIE. This is part 12. We have a few good things to go over, as well as just some random additions that I did. A lot new code is in the game. Um, a lot of the game is technically broken right now, to where you can only get so much to work, but we'll start off with these two characters. I'll go ahead and mute that for my own sake, but draws, they get back up. I believe we showed that before because draw was a normal thing. We also have timeouts as a thing now. I have a lot of new in between round things for timing out. Timeout, draw, pacifist round just implies that both players were at full health. And as you can see there, the game does not unfortunately move you to the next round because there's going to be a thing I add called mad animations, which is basically just going to be the inverse of victory taunt animations, which we can go ahead and show that off too. I really needed to set that hotkey to something else other than just M, but it works out because it goes to that. But we can get this guy low enough, and if you beat him up, take off your mask, clean it up a little bit, put it back on. That is character E's, well, player I's taunt. Once that's all set back up, you should be able to pause the game, but it's being a little bit funky for me right now. So that might be something I need to look into for why I wouldn't be able to do that, because I ran into a lot of issues like that where it's, oh, you can't pause the game. Like right now, I'm not supposed to be able to pause the game, but I can. So that's unfortunate. But I don't know how well you guys are able to see. But character ended their time. The simple answer is right now I have it on a flip flop, and I just need to make it into a singular function rather than flip flopping if you can pause or not. So that would be quite the easy change. There's also something I want to do where I want to have it to where, how do I show this correctly? Sure, this works. If you win with player two, boom, does this whole thing. I want it to be where player two wins will be flipped over to the other side if you're facing the other direction. So no matter what, this won't be covering you and you'll be more visible. Though I guess in this case, since you're so close to the opponent, it works out. Also, really, you shouldn't be able to pause there, but that's probably also another thing where it's like, oh yeah, we let you pause even though all three screens are available. What have I not shown for the that I can show with these two characters? I can show it with other characters too. Also, we get this weird glitch where a second mouse appears, so that's been a fun time. Haven't really found a way to fix it because the issue doesn't really exist in the exported version of the game. But technically, character I, the bug, actually has two different versions of their win animation. If I can just get him to jump over. Boom. Bop, bop. It's not really any different. It's just a slightly different adjustment point on where the hand is pulling the mouse to. And honestly, I think it looks a lot smoother in this version, which is unfortunate because it is seemingly more poppy. Like you can pops out, pops back into place, but it's so you don't see like the inside like jaw parts of the bug coming out. Though I think you might have also seen some of the other pieces I've added to this game. If I put this character to zero, oh shoot, other way around. It's fine. And beat them with this character. They have to be at full health though. That is also a factor. So if I have them win at full health without ever getting hit, it should say perfect round untouchable. Or sorry, no, untouchable is the term when you have a timeout. So if I restart this match, because otherwise I'll just go to the win screen. Let's say boom boom, you hit the opponent, you let the game timeout, you'll give the timeout screen, player one wins, untouchable, because you went the whole round without getting touched, even though you technically didn't fully win. And in this case, of course, we're kind of glitched out in a state, which is also pretty interesting because for some reason, some of them are calling something to where you would be able to pause right now, but in this case, not so much. Error. What was that actually error logs? Because usually that only shows up with player E. It was, yeah, so stun projectile. That's a weird issue that keeps appearing for one of the characters. but hasn't really caused any major issues. Not like actually playing the game. It's just purely that he creates a stun projectile when he does his main attack, and that tends to put an error because I think it tries to spawn it multiple times, but it doesn't let it spawn multiple times, but it only ever hits once. So it works fully as intended. I think that is most of the updates for the game, unless I start going into the code of it. Because we ran into some issues that I need to clean up. I have a lot more organization that I want to do. But also, I just need to repeat these taunts. I need to repeat these taunt animations across the 2D forms of the character now. Because as you can see, the game only really works if you win while you're in 3D and the opponent is in their lowest 2D form. There's no other way to have it work right now, but once I get the mad animations going for all forms, you should be able to do it. Plus, right now, same thing. For some reason, I'm not able to pause the game, but that's just a matter of me changing it from how it's being paused, because right now it's on a flip flop. We can actually look at some of the code today. We're already a pretty short video otherwise. I think most of this would just be in controller character or player character. So it's still called test character. I tried to change this one time a long time ago, caused a lot of major issues, so we just kept it as character test. But we have an entire other uh, additional object events, which actually is the place where I've moved everything for adding the skeleton when you're blocking this character N, putting the clothes on character N, putting the lens mask on character E, the robot, adding the mask to character I, the bug. And then this one is for some animation stuff, which I haven't fully commented on it, but I can do that right now. For character eyes taunt animation. Boom, easy peasy. So that's what it's doing. This one is mask to face. So it will just have the mask go back to the face, goes to socket name mask, which is the original socket. And then this one, mask to hand, puts it into the hand. And as you can see, there's a left facing socket and a right facing socket. Really easy to pop them in, pop them out. If we look at character I in particular, 3D taunt, they have an entering taunt and a finish taunt. And if I look at their animation blueprint, that has events that coordinate with that, which has its own anim events folder. This is just a general going into it. Is adding a point to the trans system, which you need 3 points to transition to the next round, one from the UI and then one from each character, which is why a lot of it's broken right now because a lot of them don't have animations or anything that are adding to it. Though I could kind of put fake animations in their place. That would work for the 2D forms most likely because they could still add a point. For the 3D forms, I would need the actual animations because otherwise it notifies on a tick. By that, I mean if you use the on enter anim state, these do it on a tick for some reason rather than doing it just once. Whereas if you have it here, it only does it once per time that it passes it. So on entering, or sorry, so let's look at it the other way. On entering, it does its whole thing. It sets your is round 1 to false, just meaning that you won't go into the same animation again. And then it calls mask to hand. Otherwise, for the other one, when it gets to that point, it calls mask to face, popping it back on the face. The only other character that has something similar to this is character E, the robot. He has something where if taunt screen is not valid, because it should always be not valid at the beginning of this, because it destroys itself at the end. And you are character E, which is just kind of double checking. It's not really needed, honestly. It gets the mesh, it gets the root socket, it adds the taunt screen, sets the taunt screen to taunt screen, has that mesh set once again to the root socket, which that's all correct, so that's good. We go over to character E, 3D, taunt, and as you can see, there's a bunch of things in here for the taunt actor, for the taunt screen AB, because the animation blueprint only has this one animation, which, if I angle it correctly, will show off a lot better. But I think it only technically plays once, so let me see if I can get that to recompile. Yeah, being funky right now, but that's fine. Because it only plays the animation once, And if we look at that animation in particular, this was actually a really interesting one to learn how to do. Because if we bring it back up here, trying to figure out the best way to show this. Because right there, it should still be up there. There we go. Cool. Now that I'm up there, because the reason it teleports really far into the ground when it's not there. So if we go back to the flash, you can see it goes all the way down, zooms all the way back up because when you're exporting from Maya, it does not let you have a width of 0%. It has to at least be like 0.001, which is what it is now. So now it goes 0.001. And then the frame it needs to start appearing, it zooms back into place, grows, collapses. And once it gets to 0.001 again, it just zooms back into the earth, the exact same frame later. So you get this cool thing where it just and then from here, you can kind of see it glitch down, but in game, it's not really visible, also because you can't really focus on it much. And this is, oh geez, I just did something. I didn't know you could do that. That's cool. I don't think I messed it up that bad. We should be all good. Yeah, because I've never had to try to mess with that before. I didn't know you could mess with that. How interesting. I don't know what frame that would be tilting in, but either way, we do not want that rotate bones. We want to control Z out of that. Control Y, keep the move node because we moved a node somewhere. That's fine. Cool. Cool, cool. The important thing is this obviously has a self-destruct event notify, which if you then go into the animation blueprint, which I had to solely create this because it literally has that one event. Otherwise, you just would play the way animation and be good. And once anim notify self-destruct happens, it gets is valid, is owning actor, cast a taunt screen actor, remove screen, which is something that goes to the taunt screen actor itself, which is, once again, just this. And boom, look at that. Destroy actor. Easy peasy. And the way the transition system works, if I can just find that real quick. Going to event graph. Right now, it has to go off an event tick because of a glitch I ran into. For some reason, if character N lost as player 2, it just would not transition to the next round. So we now have it calling on tick, asking if player character 0 has more than 2 points because you need 3 points. And then it will go to setting up next round, which is all the way over here. Which, when you go into setting up next round, which usually the animations would each try to call this after their animation. But for some reason, that one character in that one particular instance is not working. So we're doing an event tick instead. And I still need to edit all the animations to stop asking if we can start this. Because either way, it still works just fine because it has a bunch of do onces in here. So cast a character, player character 0 has more than 2 points. If true, do once. It has this reset next round, do once event, which is played at the end, so this can reset and you can do it again later. Can call next round, setting that to false because if we go back to the event tick, I think it's just this. It has a boolean for can I call the next round, and if that's true, it'll go forward. But of course, so we set that to false, so it can't do anything yet. It's kind of just double checking, doubling down. It's no more doing anything with the do ones, no more doing anything with that. We're all good, we're all fine. Has this whole thing where up here we activate invincibility somewhere. Yeah, set invincible, which is setting both characters invincible. But you have to deactivate the invincibility so you can start healing the characters. And so they heal by durations of 20%. Also because I changed something to where the player character no longer goes through change face if you're invincible. So if as long as invincible is false, you can. And the entire reason for that is mainly because of this character right now, but also because of things that can happen later. So I'll just let that go through. I'll zoom it up because player E has this 2-hit attack. I love how this just doesn't even do the right animation right now. Boom, boom, you should still survive that. Cool. Let's just get you down really low. That would be fine, honestly. So, cool. I can just do it here. Boom. you can see it just hits them away now. It doesn't reset their animation, and we're still fine. We still get both the points. We still get all three of the points, and we're still good to go to the next round. So yeah, you can get like basically one more extra hit on your opponent at the end of the thing. Whether or not I want to keep it like that or keep you in place, I'm up in the air. Though I think it still looks better if you just get hit and you get pushed back, because why not? Which also reminds me, I still need to do something to where your character will walk further away or closer based on the distance between you and your opponent at the end of the round. So that is something I also need to keep in mind. But if I go all the way through to this point right over here, where it goes to this whole is down situation, round over, that's probably some things that are messing it up. Because round over, I think, can still get called, or at least still gets called by this thing over here. And if anything else happens to be calling that, any other animation, that would explain a lot of the flip-flopping that's happening. But yeah, this entire section over here is picking a winner when the time runs out based on higher or equal to each other for health. Increments rounds won by the victor just normally. So if I go through here, disable enable editing. This is the weird one. So it's calling it, well, sorry, that calling enable and disable pausing, which might be something that's actually in the level itself. So if I go to training stage, so this just shows how much I need to change things around anyway. Because pausing I know is done via this. If I can just find it. Pause timer does the whole thing where it binds events between rounds. It might also be something with a timer that it's calling, but it should be through this, inevitably. Well, somehow it's over there, but that's why we're looking all throughout this, because those are all these things, pause menu, flip flop. Yeah, this is basically the idea, though. It's one thing which would allow it to the dilation 0. Oh, no, what we're looking for can pause, not is pausing. So this is asking if you're allowed to pause. So something is flipping allowed to pause in the other. So this is just an enhanced button for pause IA and player 2 pausing. That's cool. And then this goes into this flip-flop of that basically same thing, where it sets the time dilation to 0 or it sets it to 1. Does a bunch of things of showing the mouse cursor, not showing the mouse cursor, disabling input, enabling inputs, all sorts of things. This is back when I was trying to mess with why the heck there were two mouses on the screen and couldn't figure it out, so that's not even connected. So something is calling here and changing the can pause or allowed to pause. But if allowed to pause is true, it does the whole pause screen thing. There it is. Bind event to disable enable pausing. I just need to change that around to one thing clearly says enable and one thing clearly says disable, or I could be more strict with myself and try to figure out where exactly the issue is being caused. Because clearly this will happen regardless of if round over is called, and if both characters happen to be calling round over somehow, that's gonna be why. But I guess if both characters always called round over, that would also solve the issue. Yeah, because that goes to the stage and then enables or disables it. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, these just need to be two separate events. I like how this started being a 6-minute video and now it's 20 minutes. It's all good though, because we're wrapping it up anyway. We're just kind of showing some issues that are existing in the game. But the most prevalent things that I'm going to finish working on is getting the windscreen to mirror based on if you're right facing or left facing, getting the pause to work normally again, and possibly to even work if you're playing the game. Because right now you cannot, or you I guess the best way I can put it is, if you're playing normally, you should be able to pause at any time and unpause at any time. If you're in an animation like this, you should not be able to pause. But since, yeah, exactly, there's no reason why you should be able to do that. So my guess is they have to both be pausing because now I can't pause. So whatever's happening, yes, that's exactly it. Because they're both going down. They're both going to 0 HP. They're both getting to this point where their setting is down. They're following this entire track. And since this is not on a do once at all, it's just flip-flopping it back and forth and both players are down. That's what's causing the issue. So we gotta fix that. We gotta get the 2D forms of all the taunt animations to be done. And then I need to get the mad animations to be done for each form as well. So the player has something to do whenever they draw the game or if they lose the round without going all the way down. Because I don't want them to go down to their low health form and do their how down animation every time because it doesn't make sense. They're basically resurrecting themselves every time they do that. Character E goes into a healing pod. Character I literally rips himself apart and it's like he's shedding his exoskeleton. What's the term? Molting? I think bugs molt. Like he's molting. And then character N just does a whole Gear 5 Luffy reference and just bum, 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 gets back up. Obviously, audio is not even a worry right now because we're not that far. Audio is a thing for the way future. And there was one other thing I needed to get on for my for stuff I was doing recently. Can't remember what that is right now off the top of my head. So yeah, taunt animations, mad animations, fixing some bugs with the pausing and with the mirroring. Well, not the bug. The mirroring's not even a bug. It's just a wanted change from me, and then possibly getting the characters to move closer and further away based on when they win. That may or may not happen actually, though, because there's so many things already happening and already slowing down between rounds. Well, you definitely need a better indicator of like when the next round is starting besides the timer just going. So it's probably something best in the timer event that can be at the start of the timer event. Oh, do this. And then it can count itself for how often it's being called. Though that would only work in a timed version. If you play an infinite, that could cause some issues. I guess also there's a thing of oh yeah right. The thing I wanted to do was start getting characters' names to appear on screen underneath their health bars. And the way I'm having that work is the character's actually going to have a different name for their if they're player one or player two if they're both playing the same character, or if you're using the player two skin technically. That way you're kind of getting their modern title and the title they held in the past before they became champions. Because at least these three characters that are in the game currently are all champions of their respective lands. I already have those names figured out. I don't know all of them off the top of my head right now because they're kind of weird names, and I don't want to say the wrong thing without looking at my Google Doc for it. So we'll go ahead and end the video here. I have a lot on my table to complete, and I hope you guys look forward to the next update, as it should be a more complete and full update than this, as I've been kind of running into a lot more glitches and issues with my game at this current point. I'm in the middle of fixing them. I'm about to do a lot of organization, getting a lot more things onto their own event graphs. Have a wonderful day. I hope I see you guys next time.